Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I want to take time to respond to an article that I saw on the Griot. And this article was about a statement that Pastor Donnie McClurkin made. He's an African American pastor, he's well known. And this is what he said. I'm going to read these excerpts, so bear with me. He said, "We need to know what our vote really means and how to utilize it. But I don't want us caught up in this protest. It causes anger to rise up and it gives us a false sense of involvement." And then this pastor went on to say how he did not vote for Trump because of the lack of policy, misogynistic ideals, and racism. That's why he didn't vote for Trump. But then he went on to say this: now is the time to pray for him. This is the job of the church. Let the world protest, but the job of the church is to go into prayer. And then he says that we should pray for Trump's success because if he fails, we'll have consequences for the entire nation. So I just want to talk about this for a second. His first point about voting is crucial. I do believe that we really need to exercise our right to vote, as you've heard me say in many videos here. And we need to know how to use it. We need to know how to use our vote. And I think that that really goes beyond just casting a ballot at the polling place. It involves raising funds for candidates that we support, getting behind those candidates, supporting those candidates, and holding candidates accountable who do not fulfill their promises, who do not adhere to our political agenda. So I obviously agree with that first point that he makes. But where I disagree with him is when he talks about how the church should not be involved in protests, that the church should be about prayer. And that reminds me of a famous quote from abolitionist Frederick Douglass. And I'm going to read that quote because I think that it is very important. Here's what Douglass said. He said, "Those who profess to favor freedom and yet depreciate agitation are people who want crops without plowing the field. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the roar of its many rivers." And then he goes on to say that there has to be struggle. He says, "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will." So that's very important. I mean, change will not happen if we just sit at home or sit in our churches or our mosques or our synagogues or our temples praying. God fulfills his will through men. God blessed us with intellect. God blessed us with hands. God blessed us with feet. God blessed us with the means to make a difference. I mean, you all have heard the famous quote from the Bible where it says, "Faith without works is dead." Well, it's up to us to put in that work. Yes, I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in the importance of prayer. Yes, we need to pray. But after we're done praying, we have to get up, get out, and do the work. If the church or any religious institution for that matter is not actively engaged in the issues that affect the people, then that church is irrelevant. Then that church is useless. The church should be about improving the lives of the people. And protest is one of the ways that you can improve the lives of people. We need churches to have a liberation type of mentality and theology. Churches should be actively involved in our struggle as a people, just like the church was involved in the struggle during the civil rights movement. The church was instrumental in that movement. Many of the leaders at that time were pastors. They were out in the streets risking their freedom, risking their safety, risking their very lives so that their people could be free. People like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. This brother understood the importance of protesting. You can't sit at home and say, well, you oppose his policies and his misogynistic ideas and racism and expect those things to change through prayer alone. We have to be involved in the process. And protest is one way to affect change. Voting is one way. Protest is another way. You have litigation is another way. But we have to be engaged if we want to improve this world. The church has to be engaged. Often the churches, unfortunately, are not engaged in addressing the problems of the community. You have dilapidated communities, communities falling apart, communities plagued with violence, plagued with all kinds of problems, poverty. And some of these churches thrive in the midst of all that destruction. You have people, congregations that come from outside of the community and they worship in the community and then they leave that community. You have pastors that don't live in those communities. Pastors who live in the suburbs, pastors who are so far removed from the actual community and so disengaged that they have no connection at all with the community. They are doing nothing for the community. The only thing that they're doing is getting money from the community so that they can purchase vehicles, so that they can purchase mansions, so they can live the good life, the life of this world, instead of improving the lives of the people in their congregation and the people in the community. You know, in addition to social services, you know, in addition to like providing food, clothing, and shelter for the poor, the church has to be involved in the day-to-day struggles of Black people. It has to be. Just like the church was involved during the civil rights movement. It was the church that provided a sanctuary for activists who were protesting. The church provided a base, like a command center for various civil rights protests. But today, many of these churches are so absorbed with materialism, so absorbed with the cult of personality, that they're not engaged the way they should be. And I'm not saying that this is the case with Pastor Donnie McClurkin. I don't know enough about his ministry. All I'm speaking about is his statement here about Trump. Trump has to be protested against for a variety of reasons. And I've already, discussed those in various videos. So tell me what you think. What should the church be doing? And, I know that there are plenty of churches that are engaged. There are plenty of churches that are involved in the struggle and do organize and participate in voter registration drives, and also they participate in protests. I commend those churches. My statements are for those who are not doing that. So tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.